3, 2, 1. We are live.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business.
Good morning, everyone.
Happy December 30th. David, it's a Saturday morning, David.
Saturday morning.
Yes. And David's gone because it's Saturday morning. So it's a Saturday morning, and David will be back in a second. David's having technical difficulties.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club.
There you go. And so that's okay. So David's not here, so we can make fun of the British. No, I'm just kidding. David's back. We can't make fun of the British anymore. Let's see if he's gonna. There you are, David. Thanks for being back. Thanks for joining us. There you go. You with us there, Dave? There you go.
Frozen.
That's his.
Frozen.
He's good. That's how we like him. Frozen. Anyway, so today we have a special guest.
We do.
Which of course, my people at the Illuminati and the lizard people, he's going to talk about wealth distribution and how we help the poor. But then I'm like, who are we going to eat when we invade the planet in 2027? So we'll figure that out. So
this is going to be a rough one.
We will be. We've got a wide range of topics with our guest Jay Newman from Silver 100 and Evolved Influence today. Yes. So we'll be covering a lot of ground, including a new socioeconomic model that maybe will theoretically redistribute wealth. That would be amazing. And also some things
I have a problem with
that. Yeah, Doug, we'll look into that. We'll look into it. And also some charitable efforts around ionic silver. So we'll learn.
And full disclosure, I met Jay at a family office conference. So
that's right.
We did meet Jay at a family office where they were talking about distributing wealth, and a whole bunch of other things. And of course, all the people that talked about distributing wealth, we took them out back and shot them. But other than that, it was a great conference, and it's very good. I like where he's coming from, and also full disclosure, we've used some of his products. And they're very good. My mother-in-law looks 20 years younger, or it's my mistress. I get them confused. But anyway, they look great. The products are wonderful.
Keep it straight, Stephen.
It's very hard. It's too early on a Saturday morning, David. Saturday, December 30th, the last show of the year.
The silver, ionic silver.
Yeah. They gave me some, and I used some, and I gave some to my mother-in-law, and she loves it, and she's into holistic stuff, so she's like a big fan now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So before we do that, should we run a 30-second or a 1-minute commercial?
Yeah, run the 30.
Okay, then we'll run the minute later. Here we go.
We'll run the minute later. Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
All right, and let's bring Jay in. And here we go, adding Jay to the group. Good luck.
All right.
Hello, gentlemen.
How you doing, Jay? Thanks for joining us. It's early where Jay is, so there you go.
It's earlier where you are, Stephen. So
that's true.
But you don't sleep, so that's.
I don't sleep. Yeah, I think sleeping is for the weak. So there you go.
Right.
What time did you tell me you get up every day?
4:30.
Good man.
I work out.
You never thought about seeing a therapist for that, or?
No, because my therapist can't get up early enough. Why. Yeah, it's because I'm an alien. I'm from Pluto. You make a left when you come in from the other universe.
Take that mask off your head.
I know, right? But I literally get up at 4:30. I work out. And by 6:30, I'm out with the dog doing our run, and then we start our day. And then
I like people who are good role models, so you can hang around.
I appreciate that. And John, on the other hand, he's an Argentinian looking for Nazi gold. We don't even know why he's here. So, yeah. But it's fun. So let's talk about what Jay does instead of everybody who knows us. So Michael, give us an overview, and then we'll have Jay jump in, and we're going to go from there.
Well, he among many things over his storied entrepreneurial career, he's the founder of Evolved Influence, which is one of the angles that we thought was really valuable to bring him on the show, which is a platform for accelerating the evolution of using wealth and investing in ways that benefit humanity and the planet. Very noble endeavor, and so he's looking to create an interview series to advance this kind of new generational wealth support, to get wealthy people to agree to give away money, and called the Sharing Pledge, and create a coalition of like-minded people who want to bring about this change. So that's the Evolved Influence, and he's also the executive director of Champions for Humanity, which is a nonprofit that charitably distributes this advanced ionic silver complex, which we'll learn more about in the show. So, Jay, very happy to have you on.
Welcome.
Do you want to give us a little bit of how these organizations came about in the first place?
Yeah, I'm took an unusual path through life. I left high school and then college because the professors and the counselors said it was going to hold me back. I lived in bookstores, libraries, health food stores, learned we know most of what keeps people incredibly healthy and cures disease, but it's mostly natural. There's really no money in it. It's lifestyle. And that our immature level of socioeconomic cultural evolution is still such that when a few people can monopolize synthetic things and patent them, they get massive funding and marketing, and the money behind that gives people the motive and opportunity to do everything from keeping what really keeps people healthy in the shadows to hijacking the agencies of the government that oversee these things. And so I became determined to get wealthy to teach this myself. And next thing you knew, head of the entrepreneurial department at Harvard is on my board of advisors, and I, without knowing it, was sent by VCs to the venture capitalist who took Stephen Jobs out of the garage, and without knowing it, with no money, ended up with the same attorney and accountant as Steve Jobs, and then we became friends. But then we had a disagreement what was more important to the world, tech or health, and I left that world and took 10 years and $1 million to develop this ionic silver complex. When I did the press release announcing it, the head of technology investing for Morgan Stanley, who famously single-handedly funded the growth of 4 tiny IPOs, Microsoft, Dell, AOL, Amazon, till they were huge. She called me up. She said, I saw your press release. When are you going public? I said, I'm tiny. I'm filling bottles by hand in the living room. This was over 20 years ago. She said, someday you're going to change the world. With your technology, you have the potential to have $1 billion company and make history changing the world of antibiotics, both from a financial point of view and a humanitarian point of view. And since then, sold 500,000 bottles only with no marketing yet. We're in Whole Foods and distributors, but cut all that off because of price wars on Amazon. Now it's just affiliates as influencers as affiliates. And formed a nonprofit to help distribute it charitably, because over these years, financially, what's happened is 2 things. Number one, 3 things. One, customers have seen it do miracles for family and give a damn that we do this for millions and millions of others, and have invested whatever they could scrape. And they're so supportive. As an entrepreneur, there's nothing that will ever stop me from doing justice to them and all the good people that are suffering and needlessly that we need to reach. And VCs and investment bankers and Wall Street types have shown up over and over predicting easily sell this for $100 million in 2 years, $500 million in 5 years, $1 billion potential. And I've turned them all down cold, because to me, that is still the number one problem suffocating the potential of the human species, of modern civilization. The idea that if one is already rich, and I don't mean Steve level rich, I mean billionaire level rich, that all we want to do is get richer and richer and richer, and that's the religion. That's the only religion, and the consequences to our fellow human family are better not be considered, or you're a tree hugger and a shitty businessman. And so I've turned them all down, simply saying, I'm going to build this empire rapidly, but I'm going to do it by finding a few rich individuals who care that we're saving millions of people from disease, just like all the customers. And so evolved is the more I've gotten into the family office, world and to raise money, I've been told, Jay, you should be speaking at family office conferences. And Jay, I saw you speak online for 2 minutes, and we've been trying to bring about change. And I'm a partner at a multifamily office with a large ultra high net worth client base of my own. We've been trying to bring out change. We don't know how. You've been seasoned your whole life to do this. How can we help? Which led to the Evolved Influence platform, an interview series for bringing together ideas on how to accelerate the evolution of our consciousness of how wealth and investing are used collaboratively in ways that actually consider what are we doing for mankind. And Steve, to clarify, I'm not saying just give the money to poor people.
I know.
That would be ridiculous. I'm saying put our heads together. It's like we got a big family, 12 people at the dinner table. One person's hoarding all the food and everybody else is sick because they don't have food. Let's talk as a family. There's got to be a better way to do this. Plus, where we can go with advancing cultures around the world, getting along better instead of the military industrial complex having the insane influence it has. We don't know if the COVID vaccine from Moderna and Pfizer was harmful or good. Why do we not know? Because the economic culture that we're in is such that those few rich, like Bill Gates, have all the motive and opportunity in the world. Where do we get those words from? To do everything beyond any of our imaginations put together. Again, rich, then there's Bill Gates rich, and the network and the tentacles and the influence that he has to totally change the narrative at every level. Masks is probably the best marketing scheme they ever came up with.
But see, we've discussed this before on the show, just so you know. We've discussed the wealthy should actually do something instead of adding another zero or a comma to their bank account. So we've had this discussion. The problem is that, first of all, they have little penises, and this is why they need the money. That's number one. Number two, when you're Elon Musk and running a Ponzi scheme, and you're Bill Gates and you don't know what to do with yourself and all these other guys, the issue that we see is that to them, it's like they just want to go down in history as X. And in their mind, they don't want to be Nikola Tesla, who's like, I can give you free energy. I can do this. I can do that. They want to be JP Morgan. They want to be known forever like they were a trillionaire or they were this. And that's part of the problem. So until that mindset changes, it's going to be, to your point, smaller family offices, whether they have hundreds of millions or billions, that say, let's do something to help everybody. But it's really the top billionaires are going to have to say something. As you and I talked off air, I think a week or two ago, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett aren't really giving anything away. It's a nice publicity stunt that they're giving all their money to the poor, but they're not doing crap. So, which is bullshit. So the whole problem is that people, we're in a world and a society where it is, I have to have more cars than you, but I can only drive one at a time. And until that mentality changes and you can get the whole world behind it, not that you have an uphill battle, but in my opinion, you kind of have an uphill battle because 100 family offices doing it doesn't really mean anything. You kind of need the million family offices that are out there to all agree. Even if they say we'll take 10% of our wealth and do something, that would be a big chunk of change.
Let's talk about the community that you've built so far, Jay. So you've been doing this for, how long has Evolved Influence been around as an idea?
It's brand new. It only became a global entity like 6 months ago. And I've got family offices and leaders in bringing about change. One of the people who created the ESGs, we did a Zoom meeting. He said, Jay, do you think you can force evolution? We've been at this for 30 years, just got ESGs recently. I said, I think sometimes a leader comes around and a movement rallies around him and evolution happens. I've got family offices wanting to send me their next generation recipients of wealth for the support group that I was encouraged to start. I'm telling them, hold off. I'm waiting to get, quite frankly, the next boost of capital in to hire some people, free up my time from holding the fort down. With all the money I've turned down with the ionic silver business, I've still had my hands full doing 3 jobs.
Well, what is ionic silver for our listeners? Why don't you explain the difference between that and the colloidal and the optosilver?
Well, OptiSilver is the brand name of the product that I developed after 10 years and $1 million in development. That all these financial people have been saying has all this potential. Medical people have been saying as much of an advancement in the medical field as the printing press and microchip. 80% staggering success with all the incurables in my practice when nothing else worked. I'm providing a link to people who watch this show that's only going to be, some of the links are only going to be active till the middle of January because it's kind of sensitive, because the law, again, is that unless you have the patents and the ability to go through 500 million in hoops, you're muted, you're censored, you can't speak. If you sold water and said this might cure disease, you'd have a misbranded, unapproved, illegal drug. It's kind of a way that the people in the pharma field got a monopoly. And it's still a world we live in, and people that are not in the holistic health field just don't realize why they keep seeing TV commercials that talk more about the death and the poisons. So right now I'm putting links up that are going to show some remarkable medical reports and testimonials for the next till the middle of January for people who want to see that. But so anyway, it's extremely well known, extraordinarily well known that silver in the ionic form is a broad spectrum antibacterial and also powerful tissue regenerating agent. It's completely harmless to the body. I mean, unless you overdose so much that much water or ketchup or vitamin C would be dangerous. Whether ours does anything to prevent or treat a disease in the human body, we don't know. I don't care. And you know what? I'm legally not allowed to intend for that. That's the statute. Okay. It says with the intention of treating. So we're just supplementing what's been depleted from the average American's diet in the past 150 years through demineralization of our soil. And so the for-profit just sells it as a retail product on our website and on Amazon, and that's it. People have been using colloidal silver for over 100 years. It was the number one antimicrobial in the pharmaceutical field before the 30s, when the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act was enacted that gave the monopoly to the pharmaceuticals. But what we've done is discovered that the active ingredient is silver ions, and only about 1 or 2 or 3% of the silver in colloidal silver is that. The rest is inert metal. So we isolated the active ingredient and provide the imperative time release, because otherwise chloride ion will grab it and neutralize it. There's a 30-minute educational video on the Silver 100 website, a link that I'll provide, that is so clear for anybody that wonders and is confused, because unfortunately the companies that dominate the colloidal silver field did it with a lot of cartoon nonsense because people don't know better. This makes it very, very clear to people. It's far more efficient.
Well, so the Mayo Clinic speaks against colloidal silver. Is there a reason for that? What is your thoughts on that? They're explicit to say there's a big warning around colloidal silver, saying it could cause argyria, and which is a skin condition or a color condition, and
it could cause argyria. It's called
argyria.
Okay, guess what? Again, have you ever watched CNN or MSNBC or any other mainstream TV news shows and seen that the majority of the ads are for pharmaceutical drugs that are FDA approved and called safe and effective, and then they talk about the side effects, and a lot of them go right into or can cause death? Okay, but it's FDA approved, safe, and effective. In this case, there's 0 death has ever occurred from silver. The ATSDR, which is the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, used to have a phone book sized book until it all went on the internet just on silver in the environment. They know from industrial, workers to spills with trucks. It is so remarkably safe. The EPA controls everything allowed in municipal drinking water supplies. In the late 90s, they removed all legal limits on how much is allowed in the drinking water. And they say this much per day per pound of body weight is completely safe. Well, on the label for this product that we make, it's by pounds of body weight, and that's only 25% of what the government says is extraordinarily safe. 500,000 bottles in the field over 20 years, nobody's developed skin discoloration. It's only happened when people are either buying something and drinking it by the glassful, where ours says 1 drop per 10 pounds of body weight, or they're making it at home in their kitchen with a kit and drinking it by the glassful. It's so remarkably rare. I mean, people have died from drinking too much water too quickly. Does that mean water's unsafe? No, stupidity is unsafe. But when you're the pharmaceutical industry and you have something that could threaten the profits on a big scale, you're going to ask your friends at the Mayo Clinic to print that, it could do this. We've 500,000 bottles in the field over 20 years with us. It's never come close to happening. I drink a whole bottle at a time. I don't worry about it.
All right. And then, so what first turned you on to this? I mean, what was it sounds like there was a humanitarian bent to think that this is something that you wanted to pursue as a lifetime goal. How did you first come up with this?
Well, when you say this and the lifetime goal, it's hard to isolate. I mean, I left high school after telling the school psychologist, I don't understand why I should spend the next 10 years just to get good grades, to get a good job, to have good money and have more things. When I see people who are happy or miserable, or people that hurt their loved ones or nurture their loved ones, how much money they have isn't the common denominator. And if I could learn about this human body, consciousness, appreciate what I have, 10 years of that learning, which seems a lot more useful, and probably I'd learn how to make money if it's out there to learn that. I thought he'd say, go back to class, kid, but he said, I agree, and I left. Then I went to college briefly, and right away the scientist said, you need to leave, it's going to hold you back. So making a difference in life has been my motivation, and the silver just became a natural outgrowth of my researching what people were doing. I was in the world where they first were coming out with enzymes and antioxidants and probiotics and super green foods, and I was private labeling the ones that were from the leaders of the best original of each of those, and one was colloidal silver. And so soon I saw from the marketplace, this stuff works and people will not be without it. And I was just driven. I mean, people thought I was insane walking away from Steve Jobs was my buddy. Jay, the attorney's a good man. The VC's a good man. And I'm here to help. And I walked away from all that and followed, divine insanity guidance.
So who are you looking for to partner with for funding? Because you've turned down a lot of money, you've turned down a lot of people. So there has to be a profile that's going to be, maybe they're out there in our audience, someone to work with you on this project.
I presented to a room full of VCs, of medical VCs in Silicon Valley once, won an award for most compelling presentation. And someone came up to me after and said, Jay, these are not your people. All the other entrepreneurs up front were like pointing to me, this guy's got the goods. It was amazing. And it was like, I'm looking at these Neanderthals. They'd rather sell a motorized chair to older people than support them in the virtues of walking or doing Tai Chi. I mean, and so one guy says, stay over in Silicon Valley another day and let's do a profile of the ideal investor. And we came up with somebody who specifically is not coming across this in their inbox by looking through 10 or 20 potential deals a day and flipping through to the financials. Somebody who finds out about this through whatever unexpected means and actually warms up to giving a shit what this is about. And to me, and it becomes a relationship. And then the money and the business part just naturally falls in place. So right now I have an offer out for $1 million funding with a convertible note and warrant for the company making the silver. The nonprofit that buys it from the for-profit and distributes it charitably is looking for a $10 million goal for donations right now, tax deductible. But that's just obviously an arbitrary marketing goal thing. And Evolved Influence is not doing anything to generate money right now. And yet everything that comes in, either to the for-profit or the nonprofit, is going to facilitate all three entities moving forward.
Well, let me throw this in really quick. Once again, we're not financial advisors. And if we were, we're not your financial advisors. Please talk to your accountants, your family, your girlfriend, your mistress, your grandma, your mommy, your daddy, or whoever else you have to speak to make investment decisions. However, if you're a family office, we'll take a look at Jay's stuff. I don't think it would hurt you. Yes.
You disappointed me there, Stephen. Last time I heard you include or your sugar baby, and I thought
sugar baby. I forgot. Or your sugar babies. Yes, because they can't get their Lamborghini this week if you invest in Jay's company, but that's okay because you're helping humanity. So no, I think it's interesting because when I met Jay, because you can do A or B, right? There's a nonprofit, which is interesting, and there's the, if you will, the side. So I think some family offices as an investment are investors as an investment because you have the ones who are really into health and into all natural and whatever, and the super greens and all this. So I think for a lot of them, this is something that they're going to really like. The article came out last week in the Economist that talks about, you know, in the next 20 years, everyone gets to live to be 120. So you'll take this, you'll live to 150 type of thing, right? So everybody's looking for that edge. But here's a holistic, like my mother-in-law is Asian, right? Right. Chinese Asian. So she loves all this stuff because she's like, oh my God, this is like, you know, so there's something to be said for all that. And on the flip side, on the nonprofit or on the, you know, if you want to do the wealth, that's a good thing too. And I think they tie together, you know, as you do one, you do the other, because one helps the other get to people that need the help, and the other helps fund the thing to get to the people that needs the help. So, you know, it's a full circle, which is very nice. So,
and if
Jay,
I,
could I ask you a question, Jay?
Yeah.
You've mentioned quite a lot of people that you've known in the past, etc., etc. Are you an easy person to work with?
I think that's a cavalier question, and I'm putting it mildly that way. Please understand, I might be.
I don't quite know what you mean by cavalier question. I was just
because it implies that I'm not, and that's why these deals didn't happen.
No. I wasn't suggesting that. But you've had a lot of stuff. You've had a lot of things pass along a conveyor belt in front of you. And
so let me ask you a question. Those people, those relationships didn't pass and come onto my plate because I had a patent or because I had a lot of money in the bank. They came because I'm an easy person to work with and they saw massive potential. And in all cases, it was me who said, you're not at the level of where I'm going. I have dozens of investors. I've raised $2 million over 20 years that are so mutually supportive. The attorney that I have for the nonprofit is head of the nonprofits division of the Florida Bar Association. He took me under his wing. He came to my house to make sure he could tell me things he wouldn't even tell people over the phone. I'm doing everything properly. With the right few people, the resonance is just so built in. There's a dentist in South Florida. He was former head of the Broward County Dental Association. He's known me 20 years. He's put in over $200,000. He considers me a dear friend and a sleeping giant and a diamond in the rough. This is the interesting thing. There's a difference between having an investor-entrepreneur relationship where we say we give a damn that we're helping saving millions of people from disease and going to make a fortune doing it, as opposed to, Jay, you better have a good lawyer because our investors will screw you if they can, but so what? That's business. Now go work your ass off and trust them that everything is going to fall in place when contingencies come up. I see this as still a barbaric level of socioeconomic cultural evolution, and there are the few who really do get it, and we are about to open floodgates of me building a network and growing coalition of exactly that. It's kind of interesting that the way this has emerged, because I've told the VCs, there was an investment banker I got to know on an online show where we became good friends. It was a support group for men. A former Stanford professor. It was called the Bold Life Brotherhood. And we became friends. He had raised $500 million for corporate clients over his career. Now he's, not in that field. And he made friends with a retired tax attorney, very rich, a lot of rich friends. They looked at everything, Zoom calls, everything's great, Jay. We want to bring in 15 million. We're ready to go. The instruments are perfect. The structure is perfect. Never said that before. He said, Jay, we only have one concern. You care too much about doing good in the world and not enough about making money just to make money. And I leaned into the camera, David, and I said to him, I will be worth a few $100 million personally within the next 5 years. I will be making my investors really good return on investment. And I'm going to do that without compromising one iota on the character of the people I'm bringing in. I think it's possible, without sounding arrogant and like an asshole here, that I'm a little bit ahead of my time. There was a time when we threw Christians to the lions for entertainment. Then we had gladiators killing each other for entertainment. Now we've gotten to where it's football.
A little bit before your time, Jay. I mean, as a European, you sound very un-American.
What are you talking about? You know how dangerous it is for the world to say that just caring that we're not killing and hurting people and how we make our money is un-American? I mean, please don't speak for all Americans, because a lot of Americans actually care how money is made and how money is used.
Yeah, you don't be so American that you can't get a little humor. I mean, gotta chill out. I mean, and this, I love that you come across that you want to do all this, but you either work with a system or you're going to wither at the vine. I mean, you can't be, this, total black and white. It's got to be a little in the middle. I mean,
John, with all due respect, what I'm seeing that is a remarkable phenomenon that I'm witnessing that I know you guys don't really understand, and that's fine. A lot of people watching this will. What I'm finding is this remarkable phenomenon that so many people that I meet in these circles perceive this as black and white. And they're the ones that are stuck in a black and white. I've had people say, well, I can't put money into someone who doesn't care about profit. Which part of what I'm talking about implied that I don't care about profit? And yet it scares people that they think that by bringing in other factors, that's going to compromise their security and their financial profit. It's remarkable to me.
If you look at, he's doing no different. I think it's called Tom's, the shoe company. They're like, let's do good, give a pair of shoes. It's the same thing. It's the glass company, Waverly, I think, that does buy a pair of glass. His philosophy is the same as those. So where his may be very true to where we're worried about profit, but we're also worried about doing well, where they're saying, let's do well, but behind the scenes are more worried about profit. So it's the same, if you will, it's the same A through Z. So it really is just a matter, do you like the ionic silver? And do you, if you will, I don't want to say believe, but do you believe that it really will work? And to his point, silver does help your skin, because when you get blown up or get burns, they give you something called silverdine, which has what in it? Silver. Why? Because it helps generate skin. How do I know this? Because when I was blown up and 48% of my body was 3rd-degree burns, that's what we used on my body is silverdine, right? And that's what you use. So to that point, yes. Now, will you find someone that's the perfect fit? Not sure. I mean, the younger generation, and I hate to say this, the woke generation where, you can't tell them anything is wrong because their mommy told them they were perfect when they came in 300th. They are probably more in tune to what Jay is doing than we are, because we're the old school. We're the old style investment bankers where greed is good. Greed is still good. And that's how we look at it. Like the conversation we had before the show about like being ruthless. So the younger generation that wants to save the planet and all this other things, that's the perfect fit. And there's probably still some old school people. Like I look at this, I'm like, this is interesting. Is it an investment I would make? I don't know, because there's a lot of factors. And part of it is profit, right? And part of it is management. And part of it is global. Helping people? Sure, no problem. So I think that's how people have to digest it. They have to say there's an A and a B. The A is we have, if you will, a natural holistic company that does this. And we have a B that does this, and you just have to be comfortable with it. So if you believe in Tom's and Waverly and all those others that give shoes and whatever to everybody, then it's the same concept. At the end of the day, I mean, it's nothing new. It's the same concept. So he wants to help
David and John, let me give you 3 examples of what I see as room for further evolution of the culture that I think you'll help illustrate where we can't disagree because it's obvious. Number 1, I was at a Rotary Club event a few years ago, and a guest speaker was he was a consultant for the military. It was when Trump was just coming in. He said, I used to be in Lebanon in the desert. Now I'm older, I'm a consultant. He says, soon we're going to level the Middle East. And someone said, well, aren't they going to retaliate? He goes, yeah, but not right away. And I said, whoa, but there's loose nukes floating around. This is no joke. And I said, we have the biggest GDP, the biggest military budget in the history of mankind. Why can't we take an infinitesimal fraction of that budget and put it to a 10-year project to bring these people out of the dark ages so we don't risk blowing up humanity? And he had an answer immediately. He said, we can't do that because of the military-industrial complex. And I said, so why do we give the military-industrial complex so much lobby power? And he had an answer immediately. He said, free enterprise. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, 6 years ago, Warren Buffett was interviewed by Charlie Rose. It's on YouTube. And one of the questions Charlie Rose asked Warren Buffett is, he says, you famously called derivatives weapons of mass destruction, which we all know, right? Which means the rich guy getting richer on the back of the little guys that don't know any better. And Warren Buffett goes, yeah, I did. And Charlie Rose says, but you're investing in derivatives. And he goes, well, yeah, if I can make a buck. Another example is when Elon Musk came out with AI, OpenAI, he said publicly, this is open because if it ended up in the hands of the few to get rich on it, it would be a dictatorship and very dangerous for mankind. And a few months ago, talk about Bill Maher, he was interviewed on Bill Maher's show and said, what an irony. That's what happened. This is not a good state for mankind. I mean, we cannot proceed further without risking. Every time you see something about poisoning the environment, or you see about so many of the problems we have are easily solvable. Can you imagine? I just asked this question: what will a more evolved socioeconomic human society look like? Can you imagine a reasonable percentage of the family offices of the very wealthy simply saying that we invest and we have the same interest of making the same ROI, the same risk return ratios apply, but we factor in whether we're harming our fellow man or helping? How can we help bring evolution of mankind further?
Don't you think that if it were easy, though, it would already have been done? You know, to say that these things are easily changed is presuming that society can change easily. And I just don't see that happening easily. Strategically, maybe, with a plan and a community of people who want to push a new evolution, as you're saying. But to presume that any of this is easy, I mean, I don't think it is.
I'm sure that if anybody looks through the recording of this whole show so far, I never once used the word easy. But I have to try. I think we all, to different degrees, have to do what we can. And the funny thing is, the more I talk to people, I see a lot of initial response of fear, if nothing else, of, whoa, but this is compromising the security of everything I've learned about how to have the identity and the wealth and the security, which we need to have. But after you're worth $500 million, and you get to the billion level, if you just live for more and more with zero interest in the consequences to fellow man compared to bringing that in, and I find the more I talk to people, the more people go, yeah, you know, I have thought that way, and it does, you know, touch my heart, and I would love to find ways to be able to be making my money and knowing I'm doing good. I had one guy at a family office event, Jay, it's about profit. I take care of my daughter. I said, good. Two people are in front of you. One's going to make you a certain amount of profit, but the way he's making the money is going to harm your daughter's health and her future. And what he does with his profit is going to harm her future. The other guy's going to make you the same money, and how he makes the money is going to help your daughter's health and her future. And what he does with his profit helps her future. How is this not? I mean, I equate it like two halves of a rope. You used to climb the rope in gym or the military training. It's two big halves of a rope. Make money and consider what you're doing. It's a simple question, guys. Here we are,
you're really speaking to, so there are only 3,000 billionaires in the world, or 3,100 billionaires in the world. So are you really speaking to just that audience to create the shift that you think the evolution needs to have?
It comes at every level, because so far we have a society that applauds, supports, encourages, and gives all the power to those that are most successful at, you know, to just use really crude words, which I don't mean it to be that crude or certainly broad brush, the most successful at being predatory end up with the most power and influence, or the most existing entrenched power, wealth interests end up with the most power and influence. That doesn't sound like a formula for the family of human civilization, of this magic thing of minds, consciousness. You know, it's only a few minutes ago that we discovered electricity, that we had the Industrial Revolution, that we discovered how to do computers and nuclear bombs, and now things are running wild with AI and with, do you know, Elon Musk, you can find it online, has said things recently like, you wouldn't want to be me. I can't turn it off.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Death will
be. But nobody cares about Elon Musk because he's an idiot. And nobody likes him. Nobody trusts him. He says shit that should put him in jail. So anything Elon says, I automatically dismiss. It's the same thing with his bullshit and his AI. He came out and said AI is terrible, and then 2 days later he comes out with his so he's full of crap. Anything he says, I just disregard. I'm sorry.
Now,
No.
but you're making my point that our current level of socioeconomic culture, even all the people at different layers of the tiers,
Right.
generally are giving all the power to him and people like him simply because they can chalk up the bucks.
That's only because people don't have brains. They don't read a book. They don't know anything about history, and they're stupid. So 90% of the planet are idiots. So they deserve what they get. And that's why us at the Illuminati don't really give a shit. And we don't care. And we had this discussion, I think, a week or two ago in either No Snobs or Knobs or here, where the problem is this. You got these guys, whether it's running oil companies, whether they're running, you pick it. I don't care. But they're 50, 60, 70, whatever their age is, they don't really give a shit. Do you know why? They're dead in 20 or 30 years, and they don't really care what happens to their kids. Why? Because they're getting their toys now. Because if they cared, I'm going to go back to Tesla back in 1900, free energy, the planet would be a different place because you'd have none of this because he had his towers. Why didn't we do that? Because JP Morgan then couldn't make money. So to Michael's point, it's not going to be an easy change. It'd be great if family offices say, I'm going to help do this, I'm going to help do that, and make people healthier and whatever. We also said on the show that as soon as AI decides it's going to become HAL 9000 from 2001, and you can have a utopia where it takes care of everything, then it's different because then everybody has, if you will, equal housing, a car, food, whatever. And then it doesn't matter if you have $1 or $1 trillion because AI makes sure that you will be healthy and survive. So that I'm all in favor for. I'm in favor for the machines to do their jobs, right? But if I'm going to count the billionaires and the ones that I know to do shit, no, I just know that on Supercar weekend and when I go to F1 VIP, that's where we're hanging out. But are they going to help the planet? They don't give a shit. They're going to fly in their private jets and they're going to fly and get gas powered cars, which I'm all for, and everything, and that's it. So I agree we need to do something. It goes back to my point. I think under a certain age, the woke kids of the family offices that are like, oh, we have to make it great. They're the ones. I think some of the old school people, they're at the point where it's like, we don't care. And why we don't care? Because nobody else cares. When I was a kid, I cared about changing I don't care anymore. I'm done changing the planet. Fuck the planet. Fuck these people. There's 8 billion of them. I like maybe 100 of them. Could give a shit about the rest. And that's the attitude.
It's a club thing that has just evolved as a societal, fabric. I go to these family office meetings and I see people on stage saying, well, we'll loan money against equity or your house or whatever. Right. And if you miss a payment, we take everything you ever worked for your whole life. And people are writing down, oh, cool. Now look at my house and look at my, yacht.
Right.
Come on. I mean,
that's why AI is not the worst thing in the world. I think if you teach AI that humanity at some point was good, I'm not sure really when that was, and it needs to be better, then I think you can have the utopia where we can change things and make it better. But on the path we're going now, whether it's the 3,000 billionaires or the people that are worth something between 100 million and 990 million, unless they all wake up one day and do something, nothing, because the little bit you'll do is inconsequential. So that's why sometimes I'm seeing when people say to you, what's the profit? What's this? They're just saying, at least with my profit, I can go do something. I think that the fact that you've tied the nonprofit to it is helpful. But once again, it's going to take more than 200 or 300 family offices to do it. And I think that's the problem, is that people are at a point now where it's just like F everybody because nobody wants to do shit. And 200 people doing it, that's it.
Not everybody. You ever hear of Yvon Chouinard, Patagonia, billionaire? He's made statements like capitalism will destroy the world. I mean, there are leaders that really, it's evolution. So I want to ask a question, if I may, instead of being a know-it-all here. Go ahead, David.
Well, Jay, I just want to say one thing. I'm not wishing to be cavalier yet again for you, but I share lots of your vision on life. I do, truly I do. And I would be the sort of person who would actually stand slightly behind you and want to move forward with your crusade. But I just have a sort of the stone in my shoe is that it seems to be so much stuff that you want to do and not one thing that you have really kind of got hold of and really move forward with that, because there are so many things that could be changed, so many paths that you could take, so many changes that you could make for so many people. And
David, if
I have just kind of like you looking at the menu, and I'm not quite sure which dinner we're going to go to.
I agree with you that looking at the past dollars that I have or brought in or not brought in or rejected or accepted, it looks like I haven't done anything. In fact, I have done everything to be seasoned to do massive things, and I have put all the ducks in a row for distributing the ionic silver through influencers and to be able to bring them in as affiliates. The website, the educational materials are ready to build a $500 million company just with funding, just that alone. The nonprofit is geared to bring in. I had an expert tell me, Jay, you're so on track here that once you're showing family offices, you're saving lives with the silver, you're going to ask someone to donate $1 million to the nonprofit, and they're going to ask, what can you do with 500 million? This is all in place right now. But the Evolved Influence platform, I literally have family offices waiting for me, coming. And I said, hold on, this is such a phenomenon, so obvious now. Let me get the ducks in a row a little further, formalize the platform, start the support group for next generation recipients of wealth. That's the number one thing that keeps coming up. It's amazing the need there. And they're also the number one community demographic to want to bring about change, who will evolve change. And guess what? For all the money I've turned down, saying I'm going to find a way to raise my money and build a rapid empire from people who are very supportive, who happen to be rich, this Evolved Influence platform, the classic build relationships and then the money will come, happens to be built into the system. This is all falling right into place. But I want to ask you guys a quick question. I'm sorry, Michael, you want to say something?
No, go ahead. We're hitting up on time, so let's end on this question.
Yeah, so it's a interesting, it may be a question without anything to answer. Stephen, you've been referring to AI and all this is, where we are and where we're going. And the problem is we don't study history. And I'm working on an article, a concept I call the elephant in the room and very few adults. And to me, the elephant in the room is we allow the most predatory to end up with the most power, the most entrenched to keep the power. We're not working together, and very few adults to say, hey, what are we doing? But to me, there's another subset of that. And that is that we've become so brain rational, counting numbers, intellectual, dollars, tech oriented, that we have to bring it back to body awareness, to breathing, to heart, to slowing down the dialogue inside our brain, to being aware and in awe of the tree and the duck and the male-female attraction, and honor life a bit, and let that be a guidance for us intuitively and judgmentally more, and how to bring that about.
That's easy. You just put your phone down. That's what I mean. People are fucking idiots. These guys know. First of all, my phone's on silent. I don't give a fuck. I'm not saving the world. I'm not curing cancer. I mean, I go to Pluto back and forth, but that's just between me and the lizard people. And that's A. B, when I go out with my dog in the morning for an hour or two, I don't have my phone with me. I don't give a shit. When I get up and work out, you know where my phone is? It's still in the office. I don't care. When it's time to shut down, I shut down. I put in my X amount of hours and I'm done. The problem is people think they're too important and they have to be switched on. There's only 5 people on this planet that are that important. And the other 8 billion of them aren't shit. And until people learn that, we're screwed. And it's that simple. So there you go.
That's why I say you're a good role model.
I'm something. I don't know if I'm a good role model, but I'm something. But Jay, all kidding aside, it's been a pleasure. Yeah. Thank you so much. We'd love to have you come back so David can be more cavalier, and he'll wear a little hat so he'll look like the cavalier that he is from the pirate days. John,
even if you're ever in a room together with David, would you give him a hug for me, please?
I would. I give him hugs all the time from behind because he's from Greece.
And just to make sure that everybody really knows, I would never be a cavalier. I would always be a roundhead, simply because I am a Republican.
Oh my God!
Don't believe in the monarchy. So there you go.
He doesn't believe in the monarchy.
It's gonna be one of these days, and it's gonna be a long day today.
Stephen, give him a hug from me anyway. You know why?
I will.
You know why? Because I'm a good American.
There you go. Jay, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Come back next year. Let us know how things are going, if you would. And we will see you again, I'm sure, next year at some point. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, gentlemen,
All
before we
right.
go to Lost Dollar Business Club and have comments on this.
Making the right connections is vital to your business and professional success, but reaching out to strangers is awkward and mostly a waste of time and resources. Imagine a world where AI takes the hassle out of networking. Enter Hero, your noise-free professional network powered by AI. What's so cool about Hero? How about getting your own AI networking assistant that's dedicated to solving your challenges by handpicking connections and opportunities that are right for you? But Hero does more than just meaningful matchmaking. We equip you with a customized storefront accessible to anyone on or off the Hero network to help enhance your brand and boost your revenue, making it easy to turn those meaningful connections into valued customers, all within Hero. Hero is networking as it should be, meaningful conversations with well-meaning people without the noise. Join Hero today and harness the power of strategic AI networking.
And there we go. Just start with that in.
Accelerating visionaries.
Let me tell you something. I've seen their stuff, and they're pushing. It's fun. I can't wait for it to go live next year. So get in now while you can. We're going to take 1,000 people for the alpha. It's almost next year. I know, right? This is Saturday. Saturday, yeah. David, December 30th, Saturday. Just so we're clear. Yeah. So okay, I know. So I think what Jay has to say is very interesting. I hope he does well with it. I think the biggest problem is what we've said though. On a lot of our shows is that old money is sort of like, I think helping people, and we've discussed, I think is a great thing. I think they got to just hone it in. And I think the younger family offices will love this concept. I think the older ones that in their mind, it's like how many commas or zeros I can get so I can talk about it at the yacht club, or can I get a new G5 or whatever the new Gulfstream is coming out, has a different mentality. And until, if you will, Elon or Bezos, fuck Buffett, it starts talking about shit, and these other people start saying, this is a great idea, it's going to be hard because, to his point, people are sheep and they just follow the idiots. They're just going to follow him off the cliff. So I think he's got an uphill battle, but a good uphill battle. So, I want to hear how his progress goes throughout the year.
Yeah, I think
sounded a lot to me. Just sounded a lot to me. He's running up a lot of hills, a lot of different hills at the same time.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do that.
That was my.
He's just. I think it's.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
David
John?
has it right. Too many potential.
Yeah.
Goals. Not focused.
John, you and I go. We're gonna make. John, I'll make the investment. You run the company. Make me $1 billion with it.
There you go.
And then what we'll do. We'll help. He says we have to help people. Here's 4 people. I'll help people. There you go. I'll help 4 people. There you go. I've helped everybody. Look at me.
Just remember, being rich doesn't make you happy, but it makes being miserable a lot easier. Right? So
let me disagree. Being rich makes you very happy, by the way, just so you know. Because this morning when each of my gentlemen were helping me put on my pants, each holding a leg, because I can't just have one, made me very happy. They zip my pants, they buckle it. It's very nice. Yeah, it makes you happy. Okay. And later I'll ring the bell and they'll bring me my tea and crumpets.
So who's going to be ringing the bell in Lots of Found? That's what we want.
I don't know. Let's find out, shall we?
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found, uncovering dollar winners and losers, where we discuss dollars lost and dollars gained by various companies and projects.
Lost and Found. So since we're going to leave David go last as always, because we have to hear what cow is farting on Pluto that's going to save the world. Let's start with John, because he never has anything, so this will be quick. John, tell us about Argentina and the president. No, what's our Lost and Found with you today, my friend?
All right, so the CEO of Binance Holdings, which Changpeng Zhao, who's pleaded guilty to criminal charges, he saw his net worth rise in 2023 by $25 billion. So, I don't know what to make out of his situation. He's he's probably going to go to prison, but probably will serve less than 2 years.
Right.
And he's going to come out with a wealth that's I don't know, something in the 43 billion or some crazy number like that.
You think he'll be able to keep it?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think he'll pay. Apparently, he's going to be paying a $50 million fine. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
boy.
it's just,
it's just. Do you guys remember Ivan Boesky, the first insider trading case that was big news in the 80s? Now you guys are embryos in the 80s.
Yes,
the joke with Ivan.
Boesky.
Okay, John remembers. So Ivan Boesky had to pay $100 million fine to the SEC. There was a comedian that did a joke, and this is for the same guy at Binance. It's sort of like, dry cleaning, $300, grocery, $1,000, new car, $200,000. Oh, SEC fine, $100 million. Like no big deal. I'm just writing a check. So this guy who's paying a $50 million fine, that's 3 days of interest. It's like, oh, can I pay it on Monday? Because my interest will be here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not even going to miss it. So it's.
So that's so lost dollar, John, found dollar. What do you think?
It depends on what side of the dollar you're on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go on, John.
I think it's a dollar win for him.
Yeah, dollar win for him, not for the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Dollar win.
I'm sorry, Michael. What do you have for us today?
Yeah. Well, it's not what I have. It's what Mexico has.
Ooh.
Mexico has the first Army-run airline in honor of the state-run enterprises of the past.
Nice.
That President AMLO tips his hat to, thinking that privatization ruined Mexico and wants to nationalize many industries, including the airline industry. And so he launched the first airline flight for Mexicana, it's called.
Okay.
And it was detoured because of bad weather, but it eventually made it to Tulum. And it's going to be a budget airline that is run by the Army, although civilians are apparently still the flight attendants.
Is that going to be the same one that's the same sort of airline that the Argentinians were running by the Army and throwing people out of, or is that another story?
Well, you know what? Yeah. Cuba, Sri Lanka, Argentina, and Colombia are the ones that have military-run airlines. So,
Argentinians were famous for their military airplanes.
It's good to have the military. All right, before we get into the British guy hating Argentina, they're still mad about the Falkland Islands. Let's just calm down.
We're not mad about it. We're not mad.
All right, let's go to a more pleasant story. Okay, here we go. Let's go to a pleasant story, shall we?
Losers.
Oh, so just before we go, so what was that, Michael? Was that a loss or a found?
Well,
that's for Mexico. It's a peso.
Yeah, let's see. It could be a win for the Mexican people. It
could be. Okay. But
Good
then again.
It might not
say good luck with that. It might not be. But we wish them all the best. And listen, if they can get over the wall with that airplane, they're doing great. Okay, so this one I'm going to go, and then of course David. So we talked about this on No Snobs or Knobs. Porsche recognizes with history of its forgotten Jewish co-founder. So 75 years ago, a gentleman named Adolf Rosenberg, a landsman, had to give up his Porsche stock because of the the Nazis in 1934, and nobody remembers him. Now, Porsche, even though they said in this article in the Financial Times how painful it was, they had to admit their wrongdoing. No, you actually had to admit you finally did something fucking right. There's no wrongdoing. You stole from the guy, and now you should repay the family his stock, if you will. But anyway, so Porsche, I think that's a found dollar for history. I think it's a found dollar for the family. And for Porsche, it's about fucking time you had a pair of balls to admit that you were fucking Nazis, and that's just the way it goes.
How much did they owe him?
He sold his stock at a discount in 1934, I think it was, and they didn't say like what it would be, but he owned it's either 10 or 25% of the company with two other Porsche and another gentleman. So
it's huge.
So it's huge. So my thing is, it's nice that you're recognizing it, but I don't know what they're doing for the family. That would be my thing. It's like, so what are you going to do for the family? Are you going to give them Are you giving them a check? Are you giving them stock? Like if I was the family, I'm like, I don't want a board seat. You can give me a Porsche, they own Lamborghini. Like you can give me a car from everybody you own, but what about the money? Like, what are you going to do? So I want to see how they're going to compensate them, other than making a public statement that, hey, look at us, we're wonderful because we acknowledge that there was a Jewish founder in Nazi Germany. There's lots of Jewish founders. We went through that. They'll be on the next show. Literally, no snobs or knobs after this show. We discussed it. So it's a whole thing. So found out, David already did the buzzers, found for the family. Portia, thank you for having some balls, but let's see if you do the right thing now. That's how.
Yeah, let's have him do the right thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice. All right, here we go, everybody. David's been gone for 2 weeks. It's the last show of 2023.
Well,
okay, David, tell us what cow died and saved the planet, or who farted, or whatever's going to happen.
No. This is something which has caught my eye, and it's a Dutch food tech company, and they're called Monkeys by the Sea. That's the name of the company. And Monkeys by the Sea, they make fish substitutes from local ingredients like seaweed and beetroot pulp to make an alternative of fish. They currently have 15 products which they offer. They like vegetarian tuna, shrimp, crab salads, crispy fish fingers, and seaweed bites. And what they use is rice, wheat, oyster mushrooms, this seaweed, of course. And the reason why they decided to call them, and it's really important for them as a company, that these particular products are all made locally, because it's a combination of land and sea.
Right.
And it's based on some detective work which was done by the Leiden University here in Holland. And I quote the scientists, that the scientists that discovered that monkeys, and of course we're all shaved monkeys, so it applies to all of us, that monkeys living close to the sea have significantly greater brain capacity than monkeys living on the land. Monkeys consume more proteins because in addition to the land products, they also eat seaweed and shells.
Wow.
So hence the name Monkey by the Sea company making a fish substitute. And
Very
as
nice.
we're raping the seas
Whoa.
Does it give the same brain benefit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Well, and raping is a strong word. We like to use pillaging.
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's definitely
It is. It's a found
dollar.
And
we'll put the link in there underneath as well.
Of course you will. And gentlemen, it is the last show, Monkey by the Sea, last show of 2023. And thank you for all being part of our family this year. Next year, we have a whole ton of guests coming on the Lost Dollar Business. This year's going to be a busy year for us. So any final words, guys, before we end the year, 2023, the last show of the year, David, December 30th.
Come on
Saturday.
the show. Engage in the YouTube channel. Leave your comments. Get in touch with us. Show us what you're interested in.
Come on and be a cavalier. That's all I can say.
Yeah, be a guest if you want. Yeah. And I was thinking more of like happy, healthy new year, prosperous new year. Thank you for watching. Stuff like that. Not like, plugging the show, but thanks for plugging. Listen, we're merch. Yeah. This is from Adam Akowitz, Adam on the Eve. You can go to our merch and buy a nice sweatshirt if you like. Or you can buy John a baseball cap. So I mean, wow.
And and all I can say is, have a happy, whatever that is.
Right.
And if you can't be good, be careful. And if you can't be careful, you should go out and buy a stroller. That's all I can say.
And I think on that note, we leave it. Guys, have a happy and healthy and a prosperous, wealthy, fabulous new year. All our fans, thank you so much. We will see you next Saturday, January 5th, with a brand new show for 2024.
Darren Mason, the author of Deal Crash, an enterprise sales professional and expert, will be on the show.
Yeah, all right. So we have a guest starting off our show. Yeah.
Darren Mason.
Look forward
to
that.
John, always a pleasure. The best to the family. Michael, David, see you guys all next